Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
And today we're talking about two things at the same time because they are kind of related. We're talking about a kind of insect called the butterfly. More specifically, we're talking about a monarch butterfly. And we're also talking about, a celebration in Mexico called the Day of the Dead. And we're talking about what they have to do with each other.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I started reading this. At first, I thought it was really just about the monarch butterfly, and then you keep reading, and they've kind of mixed these two topics together, which is fun. Monarch butterflies, we've done units on this type of butterfly before. It's pretty. I think of it as bright orange. You see a lot of them around here. And we talk about how they have this amazing migration from one continent to another. It's not like they're flying to the next city. They actually go quite a distance. But this was the first time I learned that this migration takes place over generations. So we're going to talk more about that. This is a 2-day unit. It's our culture unit. And as we always do, we're going to read day 1 first. Stay tuned.
Spirits on Wings. Monarch Butterflies and the Day of the Dead. Every autumn, something truly magical happens in the skies above North America. Millions of bright orange and black butterflies head south, embarking on an incredible migratory journey like no other. These are monarch butterflies, and their annual migration is one of the most remarkable phenomena in the natural world. Monarch butterflies are easy to recognize. They display bright orange wings decorated with black borders and white spots. These gorgeous insects inhabit regions across North and South America, with some populations also thriving in parts of the South Pacific. What makes monarch butterflies particularly unique is their caterpillar's exclusive diet. They feed only on milkweed. This specific plant is essential for their survival, and the toxic chemicals in it help protect them from being eaten by predators. Each year, monarchs migrate thousands of kilometers from the U.S. and Canada all the way to central Mexico. The primary purpose of this legendary migration is to escape the freezing winter and to find a safe, warm place to overwinter and breed. Unlike other migrations, no single monarch completes the entire round trip. It takes 3 to 4 generations of butterflies to finish the full cycle. Notably, the final generation lives up to 8 months, much longer than the typical lifespan of 2 to 6 weeks. Not only is this migration a biological wonder, but it also highlights an ecological concern. Deforestation, climate change, and the use of pesticides are threatening monarch populations and their habitats. Conservationists are working hard to protect these butterflies. Beyond their ecological importance, these butterflies also hold cultural significance. Remarkably, when the monarchs arrive in Mexico's fir forests, their timing coincides with the Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead celebrations, symbolically welcoming both butterflies and ancestral spirits. Okay, let's get to it, everybody. Let's talk about monarch butterflies, and let's talk about the Day of the Dead. And we've also got a subtitle here, Spirits on Wings. Okay, of course, if you're a butterfly or a bird or even an airplane, you're going to have wings. And here in this particular case, the wings are carrying spirits. Of course, spirits come from dead people. If you believe in such things, the soul of people or the souls of people leave the body after death, and then they go on to the next life, to heaven, to hell, they reincarnate or whatever. And yes, indeed, monarch butterflies do have something to do with the celebration of the Day of the Dead in Mexico, and in Español se llama El Día de los Muertos. Okay, so we'll talk about that in English today. I'd like to, practice my Spanish, of course, but we can't do that here because we're in English. And every autumn, something truly magical happens in the skies above North America. Now, remember, North America is a continent in the world. It includes Canada, the USA, Mexico, and Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, those countries down there in Central America. They're all part of North America. And something magical happens in the skies above North America. This happens in autumn. And autumn, of course, is the season in which there are lots of migrations. If you're into birds here in Taiwan, you probably notice birds migrating from Siberia or China or whatever, and they're passing through Taiwan. Maybe they land in the Guangdu Pingyuan, and you go out there with your binoculars or your camera and take pictures of these migrating birds. But in North America, we've got monarch butterflies, and they are migrating from Canada and the U.S., and they're heading down to Mexico because, hey, they'd like to get a good deal on some tacos.
Maybe they just miss Mexican food, huh? It's probably more to do with the weather, but I'm just going to guess that instead of the tacos, which are delicious down there, by the way. So there are millions of them, and they're so pretty. They're easy to spot. They're very bright orange and black. So they're embarking, which just means to start a new journey, to begin something new. It doesn't have to be an actual trip, guys. You can embark on a new career. So they were embarking on an incredible migratory journey like no other, something that's kind of unique. If something's incredible, it's amazing, it's hard to believe, you could use other words for that. You could say astonishing, unbelievable, extraordinary. Migratory is connected with migration, which means moving from one place to another, especially for weather reasons. We've got a lot of migratory people in the United States that don't like the snow in winter, and so they migrate or they come down to my state of Arizona. Or if you live on the East Coast, they might go to Florida. I can understand that. It's hard to drive in the snow for sure. So these butterflies are migratory, and they're going on a long journey.
Indeed, and it's like no other. Of course, there are other migratory journeys by butterflies or birds all over the world, but this one is really special. It's incredible. It's like no other, which means it's very unique. It's very special. These are monarch butterflies, and their annual migration is one of the most remarkable phenomena in the natural world. And this is a very common butterfly in North America. I don't know for sure if they have them here in Taiwan. I think there's one here that looks very much like a monarch butterfly. Maybe it actually is the monarch butterfly. I don't know. I don't know much about butterflies here in Taiwan. But, of course, we're calling it an annual migration, which is a migration that happens every year. Annual is every year. Like your company may have an annual meeting every year before Chinese New Year or something like that. And we're talking about this. We're mentioning that it is a remarkable phenomena. That's what we're calling it. Phenomena just means something that happens, usually something really cool that happens. And be careful, phenomena here is the plural form of phenomenon. Okay, so we could say a typhoon is a natural phenomenon, but here we're talking about lots of phenomena, which means many of them.
Yeah, it's one of those weird English words where you can't just add an S to it. You can't say phenomenons, although I have heard that before. Phenomenon, as Tom said, is singular, and phenomena is the plural form. Just means some sort of event, some sort of occurrence that's happening that's kind of amazing, especially if it's natural and you don't quite understand how it works out or how it happens exactly. It's kind of cool. A solar eclipse is a natural phenomenon, which is always amazing to see if you get to see it. So it's one of those remarkable phenomena in the natural world. We have a lot of them. Moving on to paragraph 2, it says monarch butterflies, they're easy to recognize. If you recognize something, you can identify it. You know what it is. It's kind of noticeable. Maybe it's got some bright wing patterns that a lot of our butterfly lovers can recognize. I only recognize that they're orange and black. That's all I know. But like I said, we have talked about monarch butterflies in the past in our work, not just here, but in our work recording English material, learning material. So we know that they're pretty popular. They're quite beautiful. They're very lovely. So they display bright orange wings, and they're decorated with black borders and white spots. A border just means, it doesn't mean the line between two countries here. It means that there's this decorative edge around something, maybe in a drawing or a picture or design. There's a border that someone draws, and then they have colors inside the border. So they've got these beautiful orange wings with black borders and then white spots on them. And if you see that kind of butterfly, it's a pretty good guess that it's a monarch butterfly.
Yeah, I think the closest one here in Taiwan that looks like the monarch butterfly is the hubandia, which I don't know how to say in English, but to me anyway, it looks very close to a monarch butterfly. I don't know if it's the same thing or not, but in any case, that's how you recognize them. They've got those orange wings with those black borders and white spots. And these gorgeous insects inhabit regions across North and South America, with some populations or some groups of these butterflies also thriving in parts of the South Pacific, which might be here, so maybe indeed they do have monarch butterflies here in Taiwan. We're calling them gorgeous insects. If something's gorgeous, it's extremely attractive. Okay, you could describe a woman as being pretty or cute, but if she's very classy and wears a long gown and maybe she's in her 30s or something, I would say she's gorgeous. And so here we're talking about the insects being gorgeous. If you like insects, if you like, insect spotting or whatever that activity is called, it's probably really cool to see a butterfly like this because, they're so beautiful. They're so gorgeous.
It's funny because you said insect spotting. I thought of, we say bird watching, right? But we don't say bug watching.
I think I was thinking of train spotting or plane spotting. People do that to identify trains or airplanes in the sky, like what airline is that. But so I guess it would be butterfly watching, I guess. We say bird watching.
I don't know.
And in any case, they are gorgeous insects. And where do they live? Where do they inhabit? Well, they inhabit regions in North and South America and in the South Pacific. So inhabit here is a formal word we use to talk about animals, where they live. You could say, what is its habitat? That's the noun, but the verb is to inhabit. They live in a certain place, again, for animals.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something important there. We don't really use inhabit to talk about people. We use it to talk about animals. For people, we would say they reside somewhere or they live in a particular place. We reside here in Taipei in Taiwan. So they inhabit mountain forests. A lot of them are in central Mexico. During the winter, we're going to talk about that. So what makes the monarch butterflies unique is that they're caterpillars' exclusive diet. They only eat one thing. A diet can mean the food that you eat regularly, or it could mean that you're trying to lose weight or gain weight, and so you eat special foods. But here we're talking about what they eat. And they only feed on milkweed. Milkweed is a type of plant. We used to have milkweed in the yard next to my house. It's a plant that has really milky kind of sap, and they eat it to survive. So it's poisonous if people eat it or other animals eat it. It's interesting because when they eat this milkweed that's toxic to other things, it keeps their predators away from them because they have this terrible taste and scent to them. So I think that's a wonderful way that heaven is kind of protecting these caterpillars.
Right. And of course, the caterpillar is like a worm. Okay. It comes out of the cocoon. So a butterfly, I guess, lays eggs on the milkweed or wherever, and then it changes into a cocoon. Well, wait a minute. The caterpillar hangs upside down and then makes itself into a cocoon. I think that's how it goes. And then later on, the cocoon changes into a butterfly. The caterpillar inside the cocoon changes into a butterfly, and then it flies away. I'm not a scientist, so I don't think I got that quite right. But in any case, the caterpillar is the insect that crawls and then hangs upside down and turns into a cocoon and later becomes a butterfly. And this specific plant is essential for their survival. It's very important for them to survive. And the toxic chemicals in it help protect them from being eaten by predators. Now, here we've got the word toxic, which means it's bad for your body. It's similar in meaning to poisonous. And there's another word that's similar as that, too. I can't think of it right now.
Deadly, harmful.
Deadly, harmful. Yeah, so poisons are venomous. You could have a venomous snake, for example. But here, when we talk about chemicals, we say they're toxic because they're bad for you. We wouldn't say poisonous chemicals. We would say toxic chemicals.
Sometimes we actually use this word in a figurative way to talk about situations or relationships that are bad for you, yeah, that's a toxic friendship, or that's a toxic company to work for, places that are really harmful to someone long term. Right now, guys, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher for a bit, and then we'll be back to continue. Stay tuned.
Hello everyone, 我是 Patrick. 今天讲解的是 Spirits on Wings, Monarch Butterflies and the Day of the Dead. 好，这是第一天的单元内容。那这个单元介绍的是北美洲非常独特的帝王斑蝶 Monarch Butterflies。那这样子的蝴蝶它每年都会迁徙。第一天课文说明这个物种的特点，最后点出课文标题的另一个主题墨西哥亡灵节。好，我们一起看学习重点，请大家看到第一段。第一段，请先注意到第三句。第三句可以说总结了前面两句，点出了地点是在 North America 北美，时间呢则是 every autumn 每年秋天，在第一句我们就可以看得到了。那再来呢，我们看到这边所主要讲的是扣紧 Monarch Butterflies 帝王斑蝶，那到底他们做什么事呢？好，我们看在第三句后面 Annual Migration 每年他们都会迁徙，那往哪里迁徙呢？我们看到第二句这边是不是有讲到 Head South 他们是往南方迁徙，那请同学再看一下第二句逗点后面分词构句。好，老师要特别跟大家说的是词语搭配 embarking on a journey， 好，踏上什么旅程，这个动词请不要忘了。再来，请同学看到第二段。第二段并不是我们平常熟悉的主题句段落写作方式，只有第二句说明支持第一句，帝王斑蝶容易辨认，也就是这边所讲到的 easy to recognize 这件事。那这个段落呢，其实涵盖了4个关于帝王斑蝶的小常识，分别是，好，我们从第二句开始看起。第一个呢，就是他们的 appearance 外形。好，那再来呢，就是第二个栖息地 habitat， 或者我们说 distribution， 请看到第三句。这边要请同学特别注意，这是第二点，老师等一下会再回来第三句跟大家说应该注意的动词是什么。再来，我们看到第三点，也就是帝王斑蝶他们的 diet， 他们到底以什么为食。好，那最后呢，我们看到第5句，也就是第4点了 defense mechanism， 讲到帝王斑蝶他们的防御机制。好，那我们接下来看一下刚刚所提到的第3句有一个重要的动词，请看 inhabit。inhabit 一般而言我们就翻译成居住，不过有别于 live 是不及物动词，而 inhabit 是及物动词。我们看到它后面直接加上名词 regions 当作受词。再来要提醒各位注意的是逗点之后的 with， 这算是附带说明哦。说到有一些帝王斑蝶他们在南太平洋部分地区其实也可以看得到。好，那这个 with 后面如果你要再加上动词，请记得要做变化。那这边因为是主动的关系，所以我们加上 ing。 好，那再来呢，请同学看到第4个句子。我要提醒大家阅读文章的时候呢，特别注意这些独一无二或者与众不同的用语，比方说我们讲到 unique exclusive 或 what makes them stand out what sets them apart， 这些通常呢在阅读测验里面都是一个考点。这边讲到的呢，就是帝王斑蝶特别独特的地方，就是它们的幼虫呢只吃一样东西，就是只吃玛丽金。那再来呢，第5句也就是第4个特点了。我们有可能在阅读测验会问到说，为什么玛丽金 milkweed 对帝王斑蝶的毛毛虫保命这么重要？同学知道吗？好，后面就有解释了。因为呢，这样的玛丽金里面是有毒的物质，可以保护这些毛毛虫不会被它们的掠食者吃掉。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson. So far, we've been talking about monarch butterflies. We haven't begun talking about the Day of the Dead, but don't worry, we'll get there. If death is your thing, if you like talking about dead things or whatever. We're talking about live things here, first of all, and we're talking about monarch butterflies in North America. We're talking about their migration during the fall or during the autumn. Now, here in the next paragraph, it says, each year, monarchs migrate thousands of kilometers from the U.S. and Canada all the way to central Mexico. Okay, notice here we're using the word kilometers. Some people say kilometers because we say centimeters, millimeters, kilometers, but in the U.S. we tend to say kilometers. And that, of course, is in the metric system. So I believe when the butterflies take off from Canada, their distance would be measured in kilometers. When they get into the United States, then everything has to change over to miles because that's what the Americans use. And then when they get to Mexico, it goes back to kilometers again. So again, they fly all the way from the U.S. and Canada on their way to central Mexico, which I think is the state of Michoacan in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. I think also in the state of Mexico, they go there too. But these states are in central Mexico, the middle of Mexico.
Yeah, if you are going to go study in the UK, folks, or even Australia, New Zealand, some of these other countries where their native language is English, they're going to say kilometers. But if you're going to go to the US, we're going to say kilometers. Sorry about that. I was recording something for a British company yesterday, and I had to keep saying kilometers, which was weird to my brain. But yeah, we just pronounce things differently sometimes, as you know. So the primary purpose of this legendary migration is to escape, get out of the freezing winter, and to find a safe, warm place to overwinter and breed. When I was first reading this, I thought, what in the world is overwinter? We don't use this very much at all. It's the first time I've seen it, to be honest. But it means to spend the winter in a particular place, and we use it to talk about plants and animals, not so much people. So it's not common in casual speech, but you'll hear it if you want to study biology or ecology, or even if you go into farming, you'll hear that sometimes gardeners cover strawberries to help them overwinter easily. I just wanted to point that out. It's not a common verb in casual English or even business English. You don't have to learn it.
I've heard the word winter as a verb, like, they winter in Texas or something like that. But as you said, most people say they spend the winter in Texas.
That's how we say it about people, yeah.
In North America, of course, we've got a lot of people who live in, say, Ontario or Minnesota or North Dakota, and they hate the cold winter. So they migrate, I guess you could say. They head down to Texas or Arizona, where you're from,
we
or
call
California.
them snowbirds.
Yeah, those are snowbirds.
Yeah.
I think they also go to Florida as well because the weather is nice and warm. I don't think there's a big enough difference here in Taiwan for people to move from Taipei down to Kending during the winter because the weather's nicer down there during the winter. Maybe some people do. I don't know, but it's not a very big phenomenon. But in any case, yes, they escape the freezing winter and they find a new place to breed, which means they basically get together, the boys and the girls get together, and they make baby butterflies.
Yeah, but we don't use breed for people. Try not to use that for people. We use it for animals and for plants. Only it's to reproduce and have young, whatever you're having, young puppies, young cats, kittens, as we call them, or young plants, So monarchs breed in the spring as they return north. Unlike other migrations, no single monarch completes the entire round trip. I think I mentioned this in the opening. It's going to take generations of these monarch butterflies to complete the full round trip. It takes 3 to 4 generations of butterflies to finish that full cycle. Cycle, of course, is a series of events that happen in the same order repeatedly. You could call it a sequence, a rotation. So the life cycle of a monarch goes from egg to caterpillar to butterfly.
Right, so imagine a butterfly starting off from Manitoba. They fly across North Dakota. They die in South Dakota. They lay eggs, and then the next butterfly flies from there down to Oklahoma or something, and then eventually they get down to Mexico. So they do this over several generations. Well, not several, 3 or 4 generations. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe human beings, when they travel to, another star someday, they might do the same thing. It will be several generations later before humans actually reach, say, Alpha Centauri or someplace like that. And, of course, we're talking about the typical lifespan of 2 to 6 weeks. The lifespan is just basically referring to how long an animal lives, similar in meaning to life expectancy. Life expectancy is how long you're supposed to live if you don't have an accident or something like that. But lifespan just refers to actually how long you live.
That's right. So not only is this migration a biological wonder, but it also highlights or points out this fact. It's an ecological concern. Ecological just means related to the relationships between living things and the environment that they are in. So let's take a look at this. What is some concerns that they might have? One is deforestation. Deforestation means when you clear or chop down all the trees in a forest. It could be because you're logging there. You're actually using the wood to build other things. Sometimes it's through fire. We've seen a lot of deforestation in California. In the last couple months. It's horrible. So, yeah, deforestation can threaten that beautiful monarch butterfly's winter habitat.
Yeah, deforestation, of course, is a big problem in Brazil as well. I think in Indonesia, it's also a problem where they're cutting down forests in order to grow palm trees to make palm oil or whatever.
Or even to put up solar panels, which is dumb.
That too, and to build farms or whatever. And, of course, we've got the use of pesticides, which are chemicals designed to kill insects so the insects don't eat the plants. It's different from, fertilizer, which is actually put in the ground so that the plants will grow. So, yes, indeed, all these things are threatening monarch populations and their habitats. Groups of monarchs would be populations, and their habitats means where they live.
Now, if you're a conservationist, you're someone who works to protect nature and wildlife. You want to see these things continue to exist into the future. So they're working hard to protect these butterflies. So beyond their ecological importance, we need them around. These butterflies also hold cultural significance. We're going to get to this, I think, more in day 2. Why are they culturally important? Remarkably, and this is what a writer thinks is important, they said when the monarchs arrive in Mexico's fir forests, their timing coincides with the Day of the Dead celebrations. Now, if you're talking about fir trees, I know fir trees because I grew up in Arizona, and in the mountains we have a lot of fir trees.
Yeah, if they are fir trees, then every once in a while you got to give them a shave.
No. That's a joke. It's a type of evergreen tree. It never loses its leaves because its leaves look like little needles. And if you're into Christmas trees, that's usually a type of evergreen tree. A lot of those Christmas trees are firs.
And they're similar to pine trees with the evergreen leaves, as opposed to deciduous trees where the leaves change color and die in the fall. Okay, so again, we've got these fir forests where the monarchs head to, and of course, their timing coincides with the Dia of los Muertos. Okay, so here it coincides means it happens at the same time. So it happens at the same time as this celebration in Mexico. And we're also describing this as timing. Okay, timing refers to when you do something. You don't do it too early, you don't do it too late, but you do it right on time. Hey, good timing. You got here just in time to have dinner with us. If you came here too late, all the food would have been eaten. Or maybe you have a friend coming to Taiwan to visit, and the timing of their trip just happens to coincide with Lunar New Year celebrations, which is a great time to visit Taiwan. Okay, and of course, this is a holiday called El Dia de los Muertos, which means the Day of the Dead. These are celebrations, of course, they're going on all over Mexico, and they're symbolically welcoming the butterflies and these ancestral spirits at the same time. So it's symbolic, of course. It's not for real. They don't really know if the dead are coming back to the world. You know, some people believe they do. Some people just say, well, if they do or if they don't, it's still a lot of fun. We can dress up like skeletons and go to the cemeteries and have parties and stuff like that. And yes, we're talking about the ancestral spirits, the spirits of people who have gone, people, your grandparents or whatever. Okay, we're at the end of our explanation for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher.
好，接下来请同学看到第3段。第3段呢，老师要请大家直接看到第3句，还有第5句。好，请看第3句的 unlike 标示下来。再来呢，请看第5句的 notably。为什么老师要带大家看这2个字啊？看起来好像很简单，对不对？不过我们在做篇章结构，甚至于我们自己在做英文写作的时候，其实这样子的词看似简单，但非常的重要。这一类的词呢，我们把它称为转承词 transitional words， 或者我们说 transition phrases。那在阅读的时候，其实这一类的字呢，我们可以把它当作路标来看 signposts， 也会让我们知道重点在哪里。那像这里讲到的 unlike， 其实呢就是要去做比较，让我们知道这些帝王斑蝶和其他会迁徙的动物差别在哪里啊？在于呢，没有任何一只帝王斑蝶它能够完成整趟往返的旅程，都要好几代才有办法完成。那再来呢 notably 会让我们知道说特别重要的是什么，我们可以看得到作者想强调的地方。好，再来我们看到第4段哦。第4段请看到第1句，老师要提醒大家 not only but also 这样的句型在文章当中很常见，特别 but also 后面呢通常才是重点，所以这边讲到生态问题是重点。那生态问题有哪些呢？就是在第2句的 deforestation, climate change， 还有 use of pesticides， 森林砍伐、气候变迁，还有农药使用。好，以上就是我们针对这个单元第1天内容所做的中文讲解。See you next time.
That's all the time we have for day 1, guys, but we are going to come back in our next program and continue talking about spirits on wings, monarch butterflies, and the Day of the Dead. We hope you'll join us then. In the meantime, check us out on Facebook and YouTube and learn some more English. Practice with your friends. Practicing is the most important thing you can do. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.